Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about the Denon X4700H and comparing it to the Denon X4500H. Previously, I've had the X4100W, and so yeah, I'm all about it. Let's see what's different. Alright, so this video is definitely not going to be about the specs. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, there are a ton of other videos, or you can go to the website and get all the specs from the website. That's not what this is going to be about. This is going to be comparing it to the previous model and kind of seeing what's different in everyday use. Like, what did I notice when I actually switched from the 4500H to this one? And so first things first, here's what's the same. 125 watts per channel. The look from the front, you wouldn't be able to distinguish the two unless you were to look at the bottom there that said which one was which. I mean, the back, there's a slight difference in the overall layout on the back. Not something that you would notice unless you looked at them side by side. And the remote, same thing. They look pretty much the same, but a few different buttons, one here for 8K. Now, the other thing I noticed that you wouldn't see by looking at it is it has a different processor in here. So the other ones use Shark processors, and the previous version had 4 of them. And so the difference is that the newer one has 2, but it has more cores. And so we wouldn't know which one's faster. It's not like they have benchmarks for these sorts of things, but you would assume that they would use fewer but use more powerful ones, which is what they did. But we don't know if it's faster or not. But I can just say from my usage, I noticed that there were some things that seemed a little slower. Like, for example, when I used the Odyssey multi-EQ app, sending that information over seemed like it took way longer on this new version compared to the old one. I don't know why. Maybe that's a Wi-Fi thing. I'm not sure, but it's something to consider. Maybe the guys from Denon will be able to inform me as to what the difference is. A few other things that I noticed just going through the menu is that now my NVIDIA Shield detects HDR10 in the video settings. That's just one thing that's new, that it shouldn't be a difference from before, because the other one had pretty much the same capabilities with regards to 4K HDR. But right now it says it on my Shield. It actually says that right there. Now the other thing is, I saw an option there for Bluetooth, which I thought, hey, that's kind of cool. I don't even know if the old one had that, but I just saw it on this new one, and I figured, hey, let me try it out and hook it up to my, Sony Bluetooth headphones, and maybe that would be cool for nighttime viewing, where you're watching something and then just put it on through the headphones. And there was some major lag, like unusable. There's a huge difference in the lip sync between what was going on the screen and what was happening. So I don't know what the purpose of that is. Maybe some other usage, but definitely not for what I was trying to use it for. The other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to see if I could load the presets from my old 4500H onto this new one, because they're pretty much the same. There's not too much difference, and I was hoping I'd be able to transfer my multi-EQ, my Odyssey settings from the old one to the new one, so I wouldn't have to rerun that calibration, because it does take a while. No go. It just kind of gave me an error. Said, nope, these are two different AVRs. We can't do it. All right, worth a try. Now the 4700H does have a new feature where it has 2 presets, and I thought that was pretty handy. That's actually one of the most handy features on this thing, and it's because you can switch between 2 completely different profiles. And so the way I had it set up is I had one where it was set up with, just a typical way where you had the internal amplification for however many speakers. This does go up to 9.2 channels with 11.2 processing. So one, I had it set up so it was using internal amplification, and then I had another setting for using it with its dedicated preamp mode, which I'll get into later. But the cool thing is each one of those profiles has its own separate Odyssey setting, right? So think about that for a second. Why is that useful? Well, you could actually have a different room where, let's say in that other room, you're powering it off the internal amplification, and basically that would have its own Odyssey calibration, because of course it would be different from your room. It's on a room by room basis, right? And so maybe in your main room, you have it set up in preamp mode with multiple amps, and you have it all set up right there. And so you can kind of switch between the two, and because it has a few HDMI outputs, I think 2 or 3, then you could actually have the same signal going out to there, have a home theater in a different room. Pretty awesome, right? That feature was also handy because it allowed me to compare the preamp mode to just the regular way that you'd use this. The 4500H also had preamp outputs, but you weren't able to turn off the internal amplification. And so what their claim is that with the ability to turn off the internal amplification, you're supposed to be able to, just get a cleaner signal out of those preamps. In real world testing, I couldn't tell a difference as far as like how quiet it was. Putting my ear to the speakers, I couldn't tell any difference when I switched between the two, right? It's not like one was completely quiet and the other one is a little bit noisier. Nothing like that. You might be able to tell a difference because it's a difference in the max voltage. And so maybe if you have your system playing on max settings, you might be able to hear a difference. But I never had it run that way, and so I couldn't hear a difference between the two. Just something to note. The other thing that makes that comparison tricky is because the two different modes have their own Odyssey calibration. Odyssey doesn't calibrate your system exactly the same way each time. So I had to run that in direct mode in order to make it a fair comparison. The other thing to consider is when you're using that dedicated preamp mode, you are giving away the internal amplification. So in my case, I have a 5-channel pair sound amp, which is cool, but I have more speakers to power, and so I do need to use the internal amplification. With a dedicated preamp mode, that's not an option, so I would need to either get more channels or not use that preamp mode. So in my case, I decided, because I couldn't tell a big difference, it would be more worth it to me to be able to use the internal amplification. So luckily, I have the option. I don't have to use a dedicated preamp mode. So I figure it's more useful for me to run my height channels off the internal amplification. That's fine. I don't think it'll have a hard time just running height channels while I let my big amp power all the other speakers. So this new one has DTS:X Pro, which I haven't gotten a chance to try out yet. The other thing I thought was kind of cool is it does have a height virtualization. So if you have an Atmos track and you don't happen to have height speakers, then it kind of tries to simulate that sound. And this came in handy because, like I was saying, in preamp mode, I didn't have anything to power my height channels, so I was able to try out this height virtualization. And actually, it does you can hear something. I'm not going to say it's the same as actually having speakers up there, but I would say that, compared to some of the speakers that I've had where it bounces off the ceiling, I would say maybe slightly below that, but it has an effect. I would probably keep it on. So for those who don't want to have speakers that point upwards, or if you don't want to drill holes in your ceilings to have actual speakers up there, well, here's another option. So I think that's one of the features I welcome. Now, the main thing that they were pushing was that this supports 8K. I don't have an 8K anything, right? I don't have a TV. I have a projector, and by the time they have 8K projectors, it's probably gonna be a long ways away. But a lot of people were excited for the 4K 120 for the new gaming systems, and as you might have heard, there are some issues with the chip inside of this, but they have promised that they will take care of anybody who has purchased one of these products, and their main thing is just make sure to register it so that they can take care of you. And so the last thing is they're always trying to push HEOS. That's their app that they use to be able to stream music, and it's still the same HEOS that it's been. They need to just polish up that app. The main issue I have with HEOS is it's just hard to navigate. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it just does things that you don't expect. Like if I hit back, it kicks me out of the app instead of kind of just going back to the main menu. So it's just a user interface thing. It's not that it doesn't work. It works, right? It's clunky. It doesn't feel like it doesn't do what you expect it to do, basically. At least that's what I found. So maybe something that they can look at. And I wouldn't say throw the whole thing away. It's just the app is a little bit wonky. The other thing is Odyssey multi-EQ, like I was saying, it was a little bit it wasn't working as stable as on my 4500H. I noticed that sometimes I'd send the calibration and it would take a long time. Sometimes I wouldn't even finish, right? And so that's something that they might want to take a look at. With my old 4500H, it worked perfectly. I had it plugged in with Ethernet to try to make it more reliable, and it was actually more reliable using my Wi-Fi for whatever reason. And so I used to do IT. I know what it's like to set a static IP to make sure all that is set. Don't worry, my internet connection here is good. My networking is good, so you can't really blame that. I don't know what it is. Bottom line, this AVR is $16.99. My previous 4500H, which was great. I never had any complaints about that. That is $11.99 right now, right? So that's a pretty good difference between those two. And so that was only last year's model. They're gonna bring out a new model every year because that's just kind of what they do. Maybe they should slow down on that until they have a big update. I don't know. Maybe an idea. And then the other thing is they have an X3600H, and that's $7.99, and that also does 9.2 channel processing. No, sorry, 9.2 channels of amplification and 11.2 channels of processing. So that's still $7.99. With the extra money, maybe it'd be a better idea to start saving towards external 5-channel amp, right? So if you don't need 8K, if you don't need 4K 120, well, if you don't need 8K, then yeah, maybe check out that 3600H. Look, at the end of the day, they don't mind you buying up their older models as well, right? They're still making a sale regardless. So I know that there are a lot of companies having issues with the new models, but look, to get down to it, all I have to say is you could knock Denon and Marantz and whatever Sound United is doing because of all these issues. People like to, they're the top dogs. It's fun to like figure out what's wrong with them, right? But at the end of the day, these are still solid AVRs, right? I have other AVRs that I have in for a review, and even if those do some things better, it's still like, oh, I'm so used to this. I've been using Denon for so long. Probably like 10 years I've been using them. And so I'm used to the system. I'm used to all the quirks. For the most part, everything works, and it works well. So that's the bottom line is, even if there's small imperfections, maybe some features that you might not use and different things with the apps, it still functions well as an AVR and arguably one of the best. So anyway, that's my review of the Denon X4700H. If you liked the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos, and thank you to my Patreon supporters. So a lot of the stuff that I have here is going to be for sale on my Patreon page because there's just too much stuff. So I have a ton of speakers over here and I just don't have room for it. So if you're a Patreon, you can actually just purchase that up at a very low cost. So check it out, patreon.com/Joe and Tell. Anyway, that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.